Jens.
Yes.
It's been 11 months, man, and I'm really excited about this product.
Well, these EVFs are really a very difficult thing to make, but before we get started, let's bring Mandy in, our Director of Sales and Marketing, and she's going to start the conversation for us.
Yeah, welcome guys. Today we are announcing our new Kameleon EVF powered by JTZ. It has some unique differences over our Gratical Eye, so we're going to talk to you about those today and help you choose which one's right for you. I'll be monitoring the Facebook chat as usual, so let us know what kind of questions and comments you have. Steve and Jens, let's get started. Why don't you tell us about how we listen to our customers' feedback?
Okay, well, we have listened, and there's some key features that people have asked for. And I think it's important that people know that there's a blank for every blank.
And ask for every saddle.
Yeah. So,
but now there's more choice. And so the things that we listen to and what are in the Kameleon now that are important to people, I think, are that, of course, you have SDI, but also HDMI inputs, all right? It can also take 3D LUTS, all right, import those. And then, of course, it can take a 4K signal and be displayed on this 1080 display.
Yeah, now I want to make sure people understand that it isn't really a 4K display. There are no 4K Micro-OLED displays, and if there was one, it'd probably be like $4,000 or something. And we have looked into the R&D of creating a 4K display, which is a multi-million-dollar adventure.
Nobody's going to pay $8,000 for an EVF.
Well, you know, in the professional space, it's
I don't think
possible.
you're going to see a big resolution difference anyway. We'll get into that a little later.
Yeah. So, Mandy, what about questions? Let's get started.
We actually have some questions about the JTZ partnership. Can you guys let us know information about that?
About a year ago, we saw sort of an early on version of what JTZ designed in an EVF. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I kind of like some of it. You know, they come from a photographic background, so we contacted them.
We were even thinking about doing a 1080 display at the time, and then this came along. It was perfect.
Yeah. So first off, I want to say we really, really, really like the folks at JTZ.
We hit it off really well.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing many new adventures with them and products and stuff in the future. And then we said, okay, what if we wanted to take this and make it a little bit more in the filmmaking space, which is really our background, and they knew that. I mean, they know that this EVF thing is our thing. So we talked about changes that needed to be made in both the software, firmware, the physicality, optics, diopting, anti-fog, color rendition. And they were so accommodating and worked with us, and we made all these changes. And then we said, look, we want to do this with you, and we also want to be the worldwide distributor of this new Zacuto product, but it's got JTZ in it. So we called it Zacuto powered by JTZ.
Yeah, we have a question about the cables. They are saying that the cables coming out the bottom are going to be a complete mess. You talk to us about that.
I've heard of that, but this was by design that they come out the bottom, or how you like it, out the top. Now, as you may notice in both the Kameleon and the Eye, we have rosettes on both sides. That really is so that if somebody wants the cables to go up, you can just flip it over, and of course the image will flip. I prefer them going down. The reason you can't go out the back is because if you're using a short lens and you balance your camera properly, you're going to run into matte box issues, or maybe even be seen in a wide angle lens, because that oftentimes can hang way out over there. So if you have a long EVF, you're in trouble. And cables, you know, you end up coming out sometimes a couple inches farther than the back of the unit.
Okay, so like, I'm an up the top person. I love that, because to me,
over the top person? Yeah, sorry.
Exactly. No, but when they come up, then they can go right up into the whole handle system and back down into the power. The problem is that you can't have everything, okay? If the Kameleon needed to have an HDMI that actually came out the side, the girth of the unit would have gotten bigger.
Yeah.
So that's not so great. But now that type of a cable, you can have a right angle. You're still coming an inch out, but you could come back out the left and then come up around the top and everything. But you're making lots of turns and everything. So this whole cable management, you know, when we're dealing with cable management in a rig, is a big deal.
We have Chris asking, so this has an internal battery system?
No, this, just like the Eye, this is needed to be powered externally. You know, and we have several options for that.
Yeah, the only one that has an internal battery system is the Gratical HD, and some people, that is a key feature to that, and that is still a very big seller. I mean, each of these have different features. It's not like any particular one is the best. It's like if you need 3D LUTs, then the Kameleon is for you.
The theory behind that, not having a battery on here, is because it would add an enormous amount of size too, you know. And this being kind of built toward the more professional user that would probably have a battery source on their camera someplace and wanting a smaller compact unit, that's how this ended up.
Need HDMI? Kameleon. Need 3D LUTS? Kameleon. Need SDI only? Kameleon or Gratical?
Colin wants to know, is there a way to turn it on or off?
Yeah, that's an interesting question that we listened, and we have an option for that. The power switch. You put a power switch in a unit, it adds a 1/2 inch to the length. I know that sounds crazy, but they're deep. So when we designed the Gratical, we figured we didn't want to put a power switch in because we didn't want to add to the size of the unit. And now you got your power switch in the cable, so you don't have to add that length to either of the EVFs, and I really like that cable.
I have one here from Theo, who was talking about how we had stated that 720p was more than enough resolution. He says, do you believe you have reached now with a 1080p screen something perceptually better, or is it just because of the components really available? Would you consider it even better for focusing?
People need to know the display is like less than a 1/2 inch, or this one's slightly over a 1/2 inch.
0.7, right. Those pixels are small, and even at the magnification levels that these EVFs are, the eye cannot really resolve the difference between the two. Okay, so that in itself makes it so that you cannot discern the difference in terms of sharpness with the resolution. Optics and processing and the peaking that we offer, those are the things that are going to make the sharpness stand out between the two. This begs the question then, why do a 1080 screen and why is everybody else doing it? But we were starting to explore the 1080 screen because you know, people just want 1080, but more importantly, it gives us the ability to have a larger field of view. You know, I prefer the field of view that the Gratical has because I don't have to move my eye around a lot, causing eye fatigue. I want to be able to kind of look right in the center and then kind of see the whole world. A lot of people like the larger field of view, and with this 1080 display, we're able to do that in the Kameleon, so now you have choice. You can even shrink that down if it's too big for you.
Michael here is saying that he, can we add back the waveform? It's much more important than a histogram.
Well, we're not done, you know, creating features for this. You know, we've only just begun.
Yeah, we'll see.
You know,
but again, a lot of these things, you know, it seems like, you know, oh, you're holding back here and you're giving here, but each have different processors, you know, so your capabilities are limited. Like the processor in the Gratical HD is powerful, man. That thing can do so many different things at one time with these taking LUTs and turning them into different things and distributing video in different ways out all the different ports. It was designed for that. The Gratical Eye had a much smaller processor because we didn't need to do as many things as once. The Kameleon has a bit of a larger processor and it's doing different things. So, you know, you just can't do everything.
It has to drive 1080 and accept 4K.
Right.
Those eat up a lot.
So we'll see, but firmware updates will come. That's what we do. So the unit is a 7 to 20 volt unit, but you know, I've heard that it can actually go down as low as 5 volts. It's got a 4-pin Lemo. It's got an HDMI and SDI. There's your unit. Very similar to the Gratical. It has airy rosettes on both sides. It has a Zacuto diopter system like we normally do. Zacuto 1, 2, 3, 4 drop-in diopters if you need diopting range beyond what it has. Our level 2 fog protection, which is, without it, you know, it's not even a product, and we're going to talk about that. And obviously our traditional closing eyecup. User presets, both do it. Custom scaling. This is a really cool feature in the Kameleon. You have the ability to actually have the 16:9 image larger in your head and kind of squeeze it down smaller if you want to have less eye fatigue. You and I love less eye fatigue. Some people like that widescreen, I'm sitting in the front row of the movie theater feel. Both do frame lines, calibration, anamorphic. The zebra stripes, Gratical has a few options for calibrating those differently than the Kameleon. Both have 4 programmable buttons. Now this vector scope and the waveform are a little bit more a Gratical type feature, and we're going to get into why. A lot of it has to do with overlay features. You know, the other thing is, you know, when you're in this 16:9 display, you don't want to gum it up with too many features on top, but we're going to show you that in a second. Both have histogram. If you need a tally light, that's more of a Gratical feature. Now, 3D LUTs, that's really cool. A lot of people absolutely want 3D LUTs. If that's the case, you're a Kameleon user. They both have red line feature. This is one feature that people really love about the Gratical, and if you're a traditional sort of E&G user, this multi-level sharpening focus assist peaking, I have seen questions on the forum about it.
It's that edge enhancement. It makes it really easy to focus.
It's something that we can work on in the future to see if we can get in the Kameleon. The Gratical does have this sort of frame store feature, which is kind of neat. I don't know if a lot of people use it, but I actually like it for continuity purposes. Both of the units do freeze frame, false color, 1-to-1. Very cool feature in the Kameleon that people have asked for in the past because of the processor is this ability to do sort of like a 4x punch-in. We can do a 1x punch-in with the Gratical. Gratical has a Macbeth chart. Both have SMPTE color bars, audio meters, and the battery indicator, the Gratical has that. The Kameleon doesn't really need it because you have to have the camera menu up, and it's in the camera menu. Now let's talk about the real differences between the two units. So as you can see in the Kameleon, you're actually looking at a 16:9 image. The Gratical puts all of the tech information on the bottom. So you see that's where you get your waveform. You can have a vector scope, histogram, different types of histograms you can see. You have audio meters and other features and time code that you can see at the bottom. The way that you use a Kameleon is different. You use the camera data, and it gives you many of the same features. The only difference is that they're overlaid on top of the video. In the focusing options, a lot of people love this sort of red line, and that's what the Kameleon does currently. The Gratical does that, but it also has this one feature that we will see if we can do in firmware updates on the Kameleon, which is this sort of sharpening, I don't know, describe it.
It is an edge enhancement. So the edges where the contrast changes get enhanced, for lack of a better term. It's something you really got to see, but it really makes it easy to see when something is in focus.
Here's where we're just going to get nuts, because we always do. And if you have fog, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might as well not have an EVF at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a major big deal. The fog can be an issue in many ways. One issue could be that you look in the EVF and you think, oh, it's fogged. The image is going to be fogged. It's going to be fine.
They think it's just fogged right at the EVF.
Yeah.
When it could possibly be fogged if you didn't acclimate your camera coming from the air conditioning to outside in the warm weather.
It could be on the back lens.
Yeah, it could be
or
in
on
there,
the front lens, excuse me.
on the back of a filter, which
or
is
in between the two.
Right.
So I want to play a little video that shows how this anti-fog works. Take a peek at this here. So we took this out of the freezer, and we look at it. It's at 24 degrees.
Fahrenheit.
You can see the frost all over the unit, but you can see that that is not fogged. I just blew on it, and it wasn't
with
fogged.
hot air. You blew on it.
Hot air.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You're full of hot air.
Now
this is outside on a day like it was in the 11 years that hadn't been this hot and humid, and the camera. I don't know if you can see it here. It's dripping with condensation, but not the lens.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. I mean, we've put more money into anti-fog than any single thing that we have done in R&D at Zacuto. And I gotta admit, it's amazing.
We have some asking about latency issues. There's any issues there?
Yeah, I wonder if Rob knows, actually. Does he know the specific latency
Let's
on that?
bring him on.
I have not noticed a difference between the two. And
Okay.
honestly, latency is a lot more dependent on the camera processing and how fast the camera spits out the signal
That's usually where you see
than
it.
the EVF.
Yeah, well put, yeah.
The EVF frame buffer is usually just about 1 frame worth of delay. And that's kind of a minimum you need in order to process a signal and display it.
Right.
And we keep the EVF processing down to that 1 frame.
I've noticed that when we do this, in cameras, that we see it in the camera screen. I want to talk about one other issue that's a big issue, and it's the technology of OLED and the nature of its pluses and minuses.
Yeah, high contrast range is the beautiful thing, and color rendition in the OLEDs. But of course, as everybody knows or should know, OLEDs have a tendency to be able to be burned. If there's a bright area, let's say camera data, that's left on the same spot for many, many, many hours, you can start to burn that image in. It's not just our EVFs, that's all OLED EVFs.
That's OLED technology.
And monitors too.
and there's two types of burn we need to talk about. There's sort of sunburn. That's when light comes from the sun and actually physically burns into the...
It gets magnified by the optics, and then like a magnifying glass, and then burns the display.
Yeah.
Now, people kind of make fun of us sometimes for our eye flap, but it's there for you to use. Yeah, the closing eye cup. It's there for you to use. You don't have to use it, but you're taking a chance that if it's aimed at the sun, you know, that you could burn it.
That's one kind of burn. Now, we're talking about OLED burn.
Yeah.
That's a different type of burn. Burn in, we call that burn in. And the scenario there is you need to be careful. You need to turn your camera display off. You can't just have that on all the time. When you go to lunch and you're stepping away, flip your new little camera switch, your EVF switch, off at the D-tap.
Or you got to set on your camera, set one of the presets so that you can, if you need to check your waveform or whatever you want to see up there, your battery, just have that preset set so you can check it and then it's off. Will
the focus assist with a 4K signal coming in show me 1:1 4K or the punched in image?
You're never seeing 4K.
Yeah,
it's down converting 4K to 1080. Okay.
And then the punch-in at that point happens.
You would have to have a 4K display, and it's coming, hopefully, one day, but it's going to be $8,000. Sorry. Or 1 million, as some people say.
I have some people who are saying that they have bought a Gratical, and now the Kameleon seems like the right choice for them. Will we have an upgrade path?
We got a new program that we're going to be rolling out.
Yeah, we're going to be announcing this new program where basically, I don't care if you have a Zacuto EVF or anyone else's EVF. You will be able to contact either sales@zacuto.com or Mandy at Zacuto.com, and we will have a trade-in, be able to move laterally, up, down. I don't care what you want to do. When it comes to refurbished and used equipment, we have absolutely no problem with doing any sort of upgrade, and we will be announcing this in the future.
We have some questions about the LUTs. Can you edit the 3D LUTs in the Kameleon, and does it have preset LUTs already?
The Kameleon has, I think, 4 log LUTs. Rob, what are the 4 log LUTs?
We have S-Log2, S-Log3, C-Log, and V-Log.
V-Log, right.
Okay. Now, you can't, I don't believe you can alter the LUT internally. Again, that requires more processing power, but it's something that we could look into in the future. The Gratical, you can actually import, create, or change LUTs.
Do it in your computer where you got a monitor that you trust.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And that goes for the Gratical too. You do that, your 3D LUTs, make it the way you want, convert it to 1D and put it in the Gratical. I mean, that's the other way to do it.
But you should do, Jens, you brought up the best point yet. You really want to do this on the critical view screen that you use so that you know what you're getting, and then you stick it in your whatever EVF or monitor that you're using so that you know when it comes back it's going to be what you thought it was.
Jason is asking about availability.
Whatever you want,
We
Mandy.
are taking orders, and they should start shipping within the next week or so. So they are pretty available. We do have a limited quantity though, so.
Yeah, I mean, when
we
things
also have
are
another question about the rosette solution. Theo says, I love the hybrid rosette solution. Will there ever be an Axis with an actual M6 rosette instead of the Q20?
Yeah, we have the ability. Right now, it's a special order where if you need to special order an M6 on the Kameleon, you can do that. But it's going to come with what works with our support,
our Axis,
which
everybody's using a Q20 for the most part.
The rosette is an airy rosette, but it's the threading that's different.
Can you use the Zacuto left eye with the Kameleon?
Yeah, there's an extension that, I don't know if you can see me, that really goes from here to here, and then you're hooked up to the Axis so that you can use this eye. So it just extends it out a little farther.
So here you can see how it totally fits into a Zacuto rig. It can be balanced, again, the way that we balance, here you can see it, is the relationship between your hand, your shoulder, and your eye. That never changes, but when you shove the camera back, that's what gives you the proper balance depending on the battery solution you're using back there. And
why you need a small, short EVF.
Exactly. Let's take a look at this side now. Here you can see really close up the rosette. And it's an interesting rosette. It's like not a fully round rosette.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need it. As long as you have that amount of area for those teeth to grab on, you're fine.
I gotta admit, that's not us. That's JTZ, and that's pretty damn clever. I give them credit for that. But if you look at the top, it's pretty similar joystick system to, as a matter of fact, I think it's the exact same joystick as that we have in the Gratical. Obviously, it has our same diopting and drop-in diopters, which people don't realize. A lot of people need drop-in diopters. Mm-hmm. You and I, the diopting range, if we were to create the diopting range to accommodate everybody, that unit would, or a Gratical, would be 1.5 inches longer. Mm-hmm. And again, length is an issue.
And more expensive. Mm-hmm.
Here you can see the USB-C on the back. We give you this zip drive that you're going to love. It has a USB-C on one side and a USB regular on the other, mm-hmm. so that you're going to grab our firmware updates from the computer and you're going to stick it right into the back of this. And there you can see the HDMI in the back.
It's the adapter. There's a file on there too that has the whole quick start guide that's already loaded on that thing.
Right. This version of the cable is an HDMI version. So like on our cage system, we convert whatever camera HDMI you have to a standard HDMI with a right angle, and it's all locked in there, so it's really nice. You plug that in there, you got your power switch going into your battery, and then that goes, the other end, the left end there goes into the EVF.
And we have the SDI version of this
and
as well.
Go ahead, we'll show them the picture of that switch one more time because I'm so proud of this thing. I love this.
All right, we have one more kind of fun question. Who takes responsibility for the Kameleon logo?
Oh, that's interesting. It started off with Andy and me, and mm-hmm. I like it. Love the spelling because I don't want to have to compete on web searches with a chameleon, you know. And it's one thing to make a product. To name a product?
Way harder.
Way.
People are going to think we're crazy, but
harder.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We had some great questions this episode. So let me tell you about our release special we're doing. When you order the Kameleon EVF with any of our Zacuto resellers worldwide before March 20th, you can get a free SDI or HDMI power and video cable with that new power switch. You can personally email me your receipt at mandy@zacuto.com and your shipping address, and I'll take care of that for you. I'll put those details in the chat as well. Thank you for joining us, and a big thank you to iCan, who provided all the lighting for our show, and our sponsors, Rode and Kessler. On next week's show, we're going to be showing you our new trigger grips for the nucleus. We'll see you next week.